a small village where the dust rose gently with each footstep and the air carried the smell of cooking fires and fresh earth, there lived a creature known to all. His name was Anansi. Some said he was a spider, some said he was a man, others said he was whatever suited him best in that moment. But everyone agreed on one thing: Anansi was clever. Too clever. He had a way of smiling while trouble was already on its way. And on this particular morning, trouble was exactly what he was planning. Because Anansi had a problem. He was hungry. Not just a little hungry, but the kind of hunger that makes your thoughts sharper and your morals softer. He had no food, no money, no crops, but he did have something else. An idea. Now, at the edge of the village lived a farmer named Kofi. Kofi was known for one thing: his goat. It was not just any goat. It was strong, healthy, fat. The kind of goat that made people stop and stare. And more importantly, the kind of goat that could be sold for a very good price. Anansi watched that goat for many days. He watched where it grazed. He watched how it was tied. He watched when Kofi slept. And slowly a plan began to form. Not a simple plan. No, Anansi never did anything simply. This would be something special, something clever, something no one had ever tried before. On the night when the moon was thin and the village was quiet, Anansi moved. Soft as a whisper, light as a shadow, he slipped into Kofi's yard, untied the goat, and led it away. The goat did not make a sound. It followed him into the darkness. By morning, the goat was gone, and Kofi was shouting, "My goat! My goat is gone!" The village gathered. They searched, they argued, but no one found anything, because Anansi had already hidden the goat far from the village, in a place only he knew. And then the real plan began. Later that day, Anansi walked into the neighboring village. There he found a man called Kojo. Kojo was looking to buy a goat. Anansi knew this. He had asked around, learned what people needed, because a good trickster does not just trick, he prepares. "My friend," Anansi said with a warm smile, "I have a fine goat for sale." Kojo raised an eyebrow. "You? Selling a goat? Since when do you own goats?" Anansi smiled. "Since today. Come and see." He led Kojo to where the goat was hidden. Kojo's eyes widened. It was perfect. "How much?" he asked. Anansi named the price. High, but not too high. Just enough to make it seem valuable. Just low enough to feel like a good deal. Kojo agreed. They shook hands. The money was paid, and Anansi handed over the rope. But here is where the trick began to twist. Because Anansi did not let Kojo take the goat immediately. "Ah, my friend," he said, "I must first prepare something in the village. A small matter. Leave the goat here. Come back at sunset." Kojo hesitated, but the deal was good, and Anansi seemed trustworthy. So he agreed and left. Anansi watched him go and smiled, because now the goat had been sold once. But Anansi was not finished. Not even close. He untied the goat and moved it again, this time to another place, further, hidden deeper. Then he walked to yet another village. There he found a second man, Kwame. Kwame was also looking for a goat. You see how Anansi works. He listens, he learns, and then he strikes. My friend, Anansi said again, I have a fine goat for sale. Kwame frowned. You? Again? But Anansi only smiled. Come and see. And once again, the goat impressed. Once again, the price was named. Once again, the deal was made. And just like before, Anansi said, come back at sunset. And just like before, Kwame agreed. Now Anansi had two things, two payments, two buyers, and one goat. He sat beneath the tree, counting the money, laughing softly to himself. This, he said, is true cleverness. But cleverness has a way of turning, of bending, of becoming something else. And as the sun began to fall, Anansi realized something. Sunset was coming, and with it, both buyers. At the same time, for the same goat. For a moment, even Anansi was silent, because this was no longer just a trick. This was a problem, a dangerous one. Because when two men discover they have both been cheated, they do not laugh, they do not forgive, they do not forget. Anansi stood up, thinking fast, faster than ever before. There must be a way, he said. There is always a way. And then he had another idea. Risky. Very risky. But Anansi was never afraid of risk, only of being caught. He took the goat and tied it exactly between two paths, where the road split in two directions. Then he adjusted the rope carefully, so that from one path it looked like the goat faced one way, and from the other it looked like he faced another. He stepped back and nodded. Good, very good. Then he waited. Soon Kojo arrived. My goat, he said happily. And at almost the same moment, Kwame arrived. My goat, he said. They looked at each other, then at the goat, then back at each other. What do you mean, your goat? Kojo said. I bought it this morning. Kwame frowned. No, I bought it from Anansi. Silence fell. Slowly they turned, and Anansi smiled, gentle, calm, as if nothing was wrong. Ah, my friends, you are both here. Perfect. They stepped closer. You sold this goat to me, Kojo said. And to me, Kwame added. Anansi tilted his head. Did I? Of course you did. Both men spoke at once. Anansi looked at the goat, then back at them. Then he said something very strange. Are you sure it is the same goat? They stared at him. What? Anansi pointed. Look carefully. From where you stand, what do you see? Kojo looked. The goat faced him, clearly his. Kwame looked. The goat faced him, clearly his. They hesitated, confused. You see, Anansi continued, truth depends on where you stand. The men frowned. But confusion is a dangerous thing, because while they argued, while they doubted, while they tried to understand, Anansi moved, quietly, quickly. He untied the goat, and in a single moment, he was gone, vanished into the trees, with the goat, with the money, with everything. By the time the men realized, it was too late. The goat was gone. Anansi was gone. And all that remained was the echo of laughter in the distance. From that day on, the story spread of how Anansi sold the same goat twice and escaped, or so it seemed, because some say that later, much later, Anansi tried the same trick again, and this time there were not 2 buyers, but 3, and this time there was no escape. But that is a story for another day. And if you ever find yourself in a market and a deal seems too good and a smile seems too smooth, remember Anansi, and remember this: cleverness can win you everything until the moment it wins you nothing at all. If this story spoke to you, leave a like and subscribe so these African folktales continue to live on for the next generations. Until our next story, walk gently through the world, and may wisdom guide your path.